After the moderately successful 2005 Fantastic Four movie, Fox comes back at it again with Rise of the Silver Surfer. And if you haven't seen it, it's definitely an experience. And if you haven't checked it out, I do recommend at least giving it a cursory glance before watching the new Fantastic Four First Steps movie.
I like this movie. I was very excited for the first one. And then when it got announced that we were going to get a sequel, and the director just couldn't keep his mouth shut, and he all but said that, it was the Silver Surfer passing through Earth that gave the Fantastic Four their powers in the first one, and that he would be in the second one. Well, I was excited because I knew if we were getting Silver Surfer, we were going to get Galactus. At least I was hoping, because to me, you can't have Silver Surfer show up and then Galactus not even be mentioned. That just wouldn't make any sense. The cast is back, all of them, and I don't have a single complaint about them. They are their characters. They play them even a little better this time around because, sometimes past and Susan and Reed are getting married, and they make this whole big deal about it. And I was okay with that because I was like, yeah, that's where we left off in the first one. They got engaged. They're supposed to get married. So I figured some sort of Marvel wedding is in order. And I was so happy that fucking Reed didn't show up in his Fantastic Four uniform for his wedding, because Susan looks like a supermodel, and then even the thing's in a tux. So I was happy about that. And to see Reed do more scientific shit in this movie paints him as this guy who can't put shit down. And that's exactly who Reed is in the comics. He can't put shit down, especially when there's an imminent threat coming to Earth. And, here he is in the middle of his wedding, in preparation for his wedding, during his bachelor party. He's sitting there working on shit to prevent the Earth from going to crap. And that's exactly who Reed Richards is in the comics. During his most intimate family moments, he's over there working on, scientific shit. And I like that. I like seeing Ben again. Johnny is Johnny. I think Chris Evans is even more Johnny Storm in this movie than he had been. And we get to see a little bit more of the soft, pricky, annoying, fucking bratty, show off kid. He still fucks with Ben Grimm every chance he gets, which I think that's great. Susan is more, at least in my opinion, she's more nurturing. She's more, okay, I'm settling down. I have a family with Reed. And I like that because that's exactly what, newlyweds would be thinking about. They'd be like, well, let's move away from this stuff. Let's just think about being happy for the rest of our fucking lives, as they should. And I like the dynamic between Johnny and Ben when they find out that these two asswipes are trying to, like, break up the Beatles essentially. Of course they'd be pissed. Ben is just now settling into his, I'm the thing, and I'm listening to this jack off, and let's do it. Johnny's like riding the wave. He's like, dude, I'm a superhero. I'm super famous. Of course I don't want to break this shit up. We're gonna be the Fantastic Two. I thought that was great. I love Silver Surfer, by the way. Seeing him, because that could have just I was like, man, this could go either way. The way they make movies, they could just not make him Silver Surfer. Or I was like, man, please don't do some stupid shit like not give him the board. Because when they were working on the first Green Lantern movie, one of the first pitches was, let's have Jack Black be Hal Jordan and not have him use a ring. What the fuck does that even mean? So when I heard that, I was like, please give Silver Surfer the fucking board. Because his name is the Silver Surfer. He was inspired by the fucking surf craze in the 60s and 70s. So I was worried about that. I was happy to see him on his board, and just his powers. He's immensely powerful. And I think it's cool to see a dude just fucking surf, the galaxy. We get Doctor Doom back in this movie. We get to see a little bit more of Latveria, although it's only for microseconds. Well, he wears armor in this movie, although he changes from his, usual, like, very iconic green to grayish and black. I'm not sure why. We were just in that era where everything had to be like black. Just because I don't know if because of Batman, because of the Matrix, whatever, but everything just had to be black. So seeing Doctor Doom wear armor, but then also see him wear like a black cloak, I was like, fuck. They just can't let go of that Darth Sidious thing. Silver Surfer passes by and he awakens, and because he's this genius, he finds out that because Silver Surfer's he's the one causing all these problems, and then he goes to try to meet him, try to win him over to his side. Of course, Doom is just fucking with him. He essentially just wants his power. Silver Surfer like zaps him, and then his face is just he's no longer organic metal, which I like because I fucking hated that. And now there's no reason for him to actually wear the mask, but he wears it, which I thought it was weird. He's being all scientific for a while, working with the Fantastic Four. He looks, pretty smooth in the face, and then all of a sudden, when he just decides to like spring the trap, he just puts on his Doctor Doom outfit for no fucking reason, other than just because it looks cool. And the plot of this movie is him actually trying to work with the Fantastic Four to, take the Silver Surfer's power, which of course eventually, like in the comics and in the animated series, he does. And I like seeing Doctor Doom with the Silver Surfer board. And despite what a lot of people think, I very much do like Victor working with Reed Richards. That shit, it works for me, man. It's seeing those two dudes having to come together, put their shit aside, at least for a couple of minutes, and work shit out. Because again, we got a lot of shit from a lot of people that were like, "Yeah, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Reed Richards is smarter than Doctor Doom." No, he's not. Reed needed him to get to solve this shit. And it's in the comics. The only reason why Reed comes out on top is because Doom is so fucking arrogant. He can't see past. It's kind of like Obi-Wan and Anakin. Because a lot of people are like, well, how did Anakin lose? He's more powerful. Yeah, but he let his anger cloud his shit. And he knew he shouldn't have made that jump, but he did it anyway. It's kind of like this. So if Doom would just put it, his pettiness aside, he would be way over Reed. Seeing Ben, Susan, and Johnny be like, Reed, what the fuck are you doing? You can't trust this dude. No, he can't, but Reed also knows that without Doom, he's not going to figure this shit out. Yes, there's this part where Susan shows up and, you know, massages Reed's head and says something that triggers something in Reed's mind, and they start working on it. But even there's also a scene where he says, "Well, I need him." Also, Doom needs Reed, so I like that. We all knew he was gonna fuck them over. That's because that's he's Doctor Doom.
I think Lawrence Fishburne's just an amazing actor all around, but I really like him as a casting for Silver Surfer. He definitely has in the 2007 has the younger voice. He's a more smoother, deeper voice, which I think fits super well. And even the CGI for Fantastic Four looks pretty good, especially for the time. And the story they had him go through, I think was good. I think they could have done a little bit more with him if they wanted to. But as far as the Herald of Galactus, I think Silver Surfer was fantastic, as was Lawrence Fishburne. I think that the story for this has some holes, but overall, I think it makes sense given that the Silver Surfer, even though it's not outright said, is what gave the Fantastic Four their power. So I think the entanglement does make sense, but it should have had a little bit more explanation as to why, especially since it's such a simple reason. It just needed to be stated. Other than that, I feel like I have a lot more complaints than I do good things about this movie.
This movie is goofy for no fucking reason. And I do mean goofy. I don't mind humor in my superhero movies. There's Super Deadpool, all of them. But here we go from comedic to just outright fucking goofiness. I don't want to see the thing dance ever. And he's dancing at a club and drinking pitchers of beer. That I don't mind. But the dancing, fuck, I didn't need that. And while we're talking about dancing, I for shit sure did not need Reed Richards doing that stupid fucking dance. God, that is, I can't say the worst dance ever, but it's fucking top five, man. It was one of the cringiest moments. My wife and my kid love these movies. And just that, I have to get up and leave for that scene because it's fucking horrible. I don't know who wrote that scene, but it's bad. And then, of course, we get to the worst part of the movie, fucking Galactus. And Griffin says it better than I do, so I'll just give him the room.
Yeah, for some god awful reason, I don't know what was going through the writers or director's head. They made Galactus a fucking space cloud. Even when you see him early in the movie, you see like he kind of leaves like these fingerprints, but instead he's just a cloud. And for some reason, he needs to drill into the planet instead of just to get. I guess they have to get to the core for him to be able to eat the planet. But Galactus is a mess from start to finish. Even as he comes to Earth, you see him have like his original form with the shadow, but for some reason they still a fucking cloud. So that shadow makes absolutely no sense. Everything about it just looks awful. I don't get why the director thought it would be harder for people to comprehend Galactus as we know him from the comics than a space cloud.
Please tell me, guys, find it on the internet. There had to have been one guy, at least one guy in that fucking room saying, hey, man, that's gonna piss people off, man. No one's gonna like that.
Yeah, it probably
There
was.
had to have been one dude. Obviously, they'd never listen to him, but I have to believe that someone was in that room saying that shit is whack, man. Dude, why? Like Griff says, why?
I also don't feel the threat level from him. I feel like you feel the threat from Galactus a lot more when he's humanoid, when you can see him, hear him speak, see his expressions, see how stoic he is, and just like how he does not fucking care at all that he's about to kill everyone. Here it's just okay, there's just a cloud coming. I didn't feel the threat from this that I feel like we should have felt. And for the rest of this movie, I feel like this movie was bad overall for me. I don't understand why they felt the need to be on their fourth marriage attempt. I didn't need that. I would have been fine with just their first attempt. I didn't need the fourth. I didn't need it.
Well,
I
I get that. I
uh,
think any married couple that has tried to get married and for whatever reason, especially, and this is not meant to sound like a dick, but especially
I
the
get
woman
for
counterpart, she's gonna want the perfect wedding.
honestly,
That's just,
I think it's definitely more on Reed with him just fidgeting and doing science in the middle of his wedding. I definitely think it's on him, but I feel like if you're spending all that
oh,
money after the
100% it's on
first
him.
one, you would have had that shit locked. I even think Ben would have come over to Reed and said, "Hey, put it the fuck away." It would have smacked him upon that on the backside of the head, said, "Get it together, get the second one right," instead of being on their fourth. They did it just to match a Fantastic Four number, and I you
Oh,
can't convince me otherwise. Doctor Doom did not need to be in this movie. Yes, I get it. He's the reason they solve all this. He always steals Silver Surfer's powers. Fine, I get it. But then make the reason for why he was in a coma the first time different, or don't have him in a coma because the way he wakes up makes absolutely no sense. Like Silver Surfer's calling all these geographic disturbances, but for some reason he wakes up this coma patient. Doesn't make sense. Even if he is the source of Doctor Doom's powers, I don't like it. I would rather Doctor Doom just be awake the entire time, or he's just in prison from the first movie. I this just it doesn't work, and not to mention how the hell is he not dead? He hasn't been eating, hasn't been drinking. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't. This is something that continued over from the first movie that I don't like, and I get why they do it, but I don't like how they keep putting Jessica Alba in all these nude scenes that just doesn't make any sense. I also don't get why she needs has to not wear clothing to be invisible. That's never made any sense to me because that's just not how it works for Invisible Woman. And it's purely just for eye candy and just to
that's
get a
one of the
laugh.
things that
I
that's one of
hate
the
it.
things that she had an issue with,
It makes no
and that the
sense.
director insisted on. And I agree. She doesn't need to
She can turn
like
other
her.
things invisible.
Yeah,
It's Invisible Woman 101 for her. It's super simple. I don't get why that was ever a thing. I don't like that it continued into this movie because, as Edward said, it did feel a little bit goofier. I'm fine with the Thing dancing because for the Thing, I kind of get it. Reed was terrible. I don't like this movie at all. Although I appreciate on some degree the Super Scroll reference. I wish they didn't do it and they just brought in a Super Scroll for later. I think this movie had better flow to it than the first one, but I think overall it's still lacking quite a bit. it's dumb all around, just a lot of conveniences, and it's when you hear the concept of this movie out loud and you know what it's supposed to be, you can't help but wonder why the fuck this? How did we get here? I'm so glad they didn't make a third one because I feel like it would have been so much worse.
I think had they switched directors,
Oh, they
and
should have. Yes.
I think a third one would have been a lot better. I
What would you have
think
wanted for a third one? I
uh
know what I want. I would go with
I'm not
Annihilation
sure.
Wave.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that would probably be very solid. I really like the cast though.
The cast is
And
great. It's just the writing
we
sucks.
since we had the Fantastic Four trailer, I've been talking a lot about, this particular cast with family, with a lot of friends, and I have yet to come across a person that says these castings sucked. I my only complaint about these castings is the one that never stuck the landing for me was Victor Von Doom. Just never did. But Ewan Griffin is Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I can't, and I'm trying really fucking hard to wrap my head around Pedro Pascal, but there's something around him.
We'll get there once the movie starts.
I I hope so, but I've seen him now in his Fantastic Four suit.
I think once you see
Ewan
him
Griffin
on
clicked.
screen, you're gonna be happy. There are so many moments that I've heard you say from trailers that you don't like it going into the trailer, but then once you get into the movie, 30 seconds in, you forget all about it. I think it's gonna happen here.
I
I don't
hope
think it'll
so.
click. I don't think it'll click, but I think it'll be good.
I hope I get a real Robert Pattinson feel from the dude because thus far I miss this cast. I think I'm always gonna miss this cast though. I can't say like a lot of people because I wasn't, I hear maybe they're just that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but I hear a lot of people like I grew up on those Fantastic Four. Dude, either you were fucking 5 or 10 when these movies came out, but if you were in your 20s like I was, you didn't grow up with this shit. This isn't You didn't grow up with
I grew up
Fantastic
with
Four.
this
You
shit,
you
and even I
you
didn't like
liked
it.
them, but you didn't grow up with it. I can't say I grew up with these, um, but I did. I was in my early 20s when the first one came out. I enjoyed it for what it was. The new one, Vanessa Kirby, and for obvious fucking reasons, because I'm a dude and I like hot chicks. Sorry, she is my favorite cast member thus far. I'm seeing a lot of hate about the rest of the cast. I'm seeing a lot of hate about the Thing. Thing looks just like the Thing. It in
I
in
I had
the I'm
this
not a fan of the fucking unibrow. I'm not a fan of it, but that's exactly what he looks like in the comics.
I had
I
this
will say
discussion
this
with a
though.
friend
All right.
about the thing before you go too far. He and I were talking. He said the 2005 thing looks so much better, and I was like, I don't
I
know,
agree.
man. This
I
thing
agree
looks
100%.
perfect to me. I think he looks amazing. He's like, no, this guy
Oh,
looks
yeah.
fucking goofy. He doesn't look at all like the comics. Is okay. Pull it up. He pulls up. It's like, wow, okay, I'm wrong. This looks exactly like the comics.
No, yeah,
It's
100. He looks
identical.
exactly. That is one of those things that if you're looking at comics, they dragged his ass out of the comic books. He's down to the fucking unibrow.
Yeah.
But the 2005 Ben Grimm thing to me, that there's something about what they were able to do with those prosthetics because there's no CGI there. He's all prosthetics.
So a lot of people
And
don't
even I
know.
remember I had the toy and he's just big, bulky, and fucking menacing looking. This one, he's big, but there's a part of his head where it just looks small and doesn't, there's nothing about that I'm like, yeah, that looks like the strongest fucking thing in the world. But Michael Chiklis's thing, even when he's
Thing's
like
always
frowning
been
and
small
shit,
though.
no, not
Okay,
always.
I'm comparing to like the Hulk, Hercules. He's always been the smallest of the strongest
Oh yeah,
characters.
absolutely.
He's six
But
foot tall.
he's not menacing looking.
No.
And again, we've only seen a minute and a half trailer, so I don't know. But just thus far, I think Michael Chiklis is the thing is better. I do like Johan Griffin's Reed Richards a lot more than Pedro's thus far. I haven't seen the full movie. I just don't know. And Jessica Alba, I really like her Susan. I know that a lot of her, I sound like her lawyer, but a lot of the shit you see her say and do isn't, I mean, she cried over this shit. She was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And this was before Harvey Weinstein got fucking busted for all his bullshit. So directors used to get, it was like, do it or you're fired.
Yeah.
Or we'll sue you. So she did not want to come back for a third though. She was like, that's it. I'm fucking she even contemplating not acting anymore after this shit. So Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. Some very fun memories, but just a miss. Not horrible though.
True, it's not horrible, but it's bad. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, go check out the first review we have for 2005's Fantastic Four. We think you'll definitely enjoy that if you haven't seen it yet. Thank you so much for watching.
Take care, guys.